Hello and welcome to yet another video, and in this video it is something a bit different than usual because in this video I'll be talking about this Praktica camera right here. It's the BCA and it has electronics inside. Mainly it's just like a fancy way of saying it has metering mode inside, that you can actually meter the camera and it will actually choose the right shutter speed for you. It is not a full review video of this particular camera, but it is going to be a video where I will be sharing my thoughts with you all about this camera, why it is one of my favorite cameras to use, well, one of my favorite film cameras to use, and for anyone who's asking, it is replacing my Nikon EM. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the Praktica BCA, now this camera has been out for a very long time now, way before I was born. I first got really interested in this Praktica because it is the first Praktica where I actually saw that there was actual electronic built in and you can actually change the lenses. Well, you can, but like with other M42 lenses as well, because together with this camera, there was also the adapter that adapts the M42 mount lenses onto this lens mount as well. So that meant that not only that I was able to use lenses that was particularly made for this particular mount, but I was also able to use a lot of my M42 lenses as well. And that was actually going to give me a lot more benefit over my Nikon EM, which I recently gave away to one of my close friends because I wasn't using it anymore and she was starting out in film photography, so why not just teach her film photography or, well, analog photography with that camera, because it is still a very nice camera to use that actually offers, well, delivers really great results anyway. So regarding this camera, it is kind of rare nowadays, but when you do find it, it is still inexpensive. Now I bought it in like a bulk of all the other cameras as well for like 25 euros or 23 euros, around that. So yeah, I cannot tell or judge the exact price of this one because it came with many other cameras, but I managed to clean it up, maintain it a little bit, and it is now very reliable and also a very enjoyable camera to use. And in this video, just as usual, I'll be dividing it to 3 different sections. The first one is going to be about the ergonomics and the usability, then followed by the image quality, and then followed by the conclusion. So let's first start with the usability and the ergonomics of this camera. Well, this camera, it feels a lot like my Nikon EM in the way that it is very small and compact for an SLR film camera, and that is something that I really like because often I'm also carrying my R5, R6, the A7 IV, the A7C, things like that, and having a very nice light film camera that you still can change lenses, that is a huge bonus for me. And also it's kind of like a camera where it's a no-brainer to take out with you, and the fact that there are a lot of good lenses available for this system that is also very small and portable, it actually makes this system very attractive to get as well for me in the first place. All the lenses feels very nice, they're all metal. The camera is also metal body, but the mount itself is also metal if you're wondering. So that's actually pretty good. This camera, the downside is it does take batteries to actually power up the actual metering system, and also allows the camera to do the auto shutter speed. When it comes to shutter speed, it does have bulb, it does have auto where it gets the shutter speed for you up to 1,000th of a second, but you also have your 60th of a second on the dial here as well, which is actually pretty nice. Onto the left side, not only that you have your film winder, but you also have your ISO settings on here together with the exposure compensation where you can actually adjust it as well, so that's actually pretty good. Then at the back, if you lift your film winder, which actually opens up your back door to actually get your film or actually mount your film here, it's actually a very nice way to mount your film as well, because all you have to do is, just like other film cameras, put your film here and then put like your film right onto this particular section of the camera, and then you just wind it and it's just all very easy. The film winder is very reliable, so you know that you will always be able to get the film back without overexposing the sheet, and there's just a nice confirmation once the film is fully winded back, so that's actually pretty nice. And also this camera is also really well built because every time you wind the film, you know, with some of the older cameras in this age, when you wind the film, sometimes it gets stuck. This camera, it doesn't do that. It's actually still a very nice system in there where, you know, everything works very smoothly, and if you just listen to the shutter, it's actually very satisfying as well. Yes, there are many cameras from this era that has the exact same shutter sound, but what I do notice with this particular camera while using it is that the slap isn't as hard as many other cameras. So with having a lighter slap, if you're using, let's say, a lower ISO film, in a darker condition and you are forced to use a slower shutter speed, at least with a much lighter slap, it also means that you're able to hold this camera just a little bit more steady. So that's actually quite nice. The viewfinder here is also quite nice, though I prefer the Nikon EM's viewfinder simply because this one, though it has the hole in the middle, very similar to the Nikon EM where the images just overlap and then it will just pull together to like a sharp point when you're fully like pin focus there, but the surrounding area is a little bit too dark for me. So when you're using this in a super contrasty environment, sometimes you know, it's just nicer to have a little bit brighter viewfinder to be able to judge the focus area, because I cannot always rely on the center hole to be always visible in super high contrast area. But that's just minor nitpicking. Otherwise, I really love this camera so much. The handling is so great. It doesn't feel like you're gonna break it. It doesn't feel like you're gonna drop it, because yeah, for some reason, the feeling of this camera is just really nice. Rewinding, everything is just very responsive and tactile, no delays at all. So that's actually pretty nice. You have your standard self-timer up here, well, in front, which I rarely use, well, never use really. So yeah, there is that. But otherwise, yeah, everything is where it's supposed to be, and also everything is also at your fingertips, and it's also designed very minimally so that you don't need to get confused and just focus on the scene. So that's actually really, really nice to consider. And now over onto the image quality. The image quality out of this camera is great. There's no light leaks at all, and the lenses available for this particular system is so much. Again, as I mentioned, a lot of times you will be able to find the adapter for it to mount the M42 lenses. So there are so many options out there. The lenses that I have mounted for this camera is the older Praktica lenses, the 51.7, and also the older, what's this one? It's a macro lens. It's a Cosina lens. It is an M42 mount, but it is a very nice zoom lens which has a macro feature as well. So that's something that I was really looking forward to. And it zooms from 35 all the way to 70, and then if you press this button right here, it goes into macro mode. So that's actually very nice. It's pretty much the only zoom lens that I love on a film camera, and yeah, I don't know, it just opens the door to so many opportunities or so many other perspectives that you could possibly be mounted on your camera, and that's actually very, very good. I really love the image quality out of this system. Of course, it really depends on the lenses and also the films that you have in here, but otherwise it works just fine. And rewind it back and everything works very, very accurately, very nicely. Like with some older cameras, as I mentioned earlier, there will be like overlapping at some point because of the age, and it just doesn't work reliably anymore. But this one, I feel like it's one of those cameras that built like a tank, very similarly to my, whoa, I dropped another camera, sorry. Very similarly to this Nikon OS 3, that everything is reliable even though after all these years. Yeah, I really love this a lot. And one that I've been taking around to so many places as well. There are 3 different lights in here, I forgot to mention. The green one is usually mean that, you know, there is good exposure in here, that the camera can counter it and just take images. If it's orange, I believe, or yellow, it means it's too dark. If it's red, then it's too bright. But you still can take pictures with it. It's just, it's gonna warn you that it's either too bright, that you have to compensate something physically on the lens. Otherwise, it's just too bright for the shutter to compensate. Or if it's orange, then it's too dark for the shutter to actually go down that low to, you know, compensate for it. So you probably have to change your aperture as well. So yeah, there is that. Otherwise, it's pretty good. Now onto the conclusion. Overall, I would actually really highly recommend you to try out this camera. It is very reliable, it is very nice, it is very portable, very light, but also very well built, and one that, you know, I took through quite a few conditions already. And also I really didn't mind putting it inside a backpack where it was squishing between all the other cameras. I don't recommend you doing that, but it will actually survive that. So it's actually kind of nice to have a camera that, you know, is reliable and tough. And also at this price point, it really is a no-brainer. It's worth looking into compared to other Nikon and Canons offering, you know, the AE1 or the Nikon EM, things like that. So yeah, this is another good camera to really look at. But yeah, for the downside though, again, this is down to if you're really okay with the viewfinder, because to me the viewfinder can be kind of like a deal breaker to quite a few of you, because it's not always visible in super high contrasted areas. So yeah, there is that, but otherwise I don't see the reason why not to get it if you're into this kind of film cameras anyway. So yeah, I hope that this video has, you know, helped a little bit, at least, if not a lot, then a little. If you have any questions, any suggestions, feel free to also leave it down in the comment section down below. Otherwise, if you need a free photography guidebook or just want to look at some of my photography courses, it's up there on my website. The link is also down in the description section below as well. Otherwise, I thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe, have fun shooting. Till next time, bye for now.